live on a Monday, June 3rd here at Woodholme Country Club in Pikesville, Maryland. Glad you are with us. This is a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside by Sarah Ellison. We got a lot to get to today. Sarah, to my right and left, at any given point, you can run into the Torrey Smiths of the world, the Ozzie Newsomes of the world, the Adalius Thomases of the world, the Jamie Sharpers. It's a who's who out here in terms of past Ravens. It's a lot of fun. I appreciate J.O. for having me out here for a second consecutive year. You are in your normal setup in Columbus. We are about to do a normal show. Great to be back with you.
You just said some names that I haven't heard. Adalius Thomas, I haven't heard from him in a minute. I got much love for Ozzie over there. So, who knows? Maybe somebody will crash in. Maybe you'll grab some people later and get an interview for tomorrow or whatnot. So, but appreciate you being out there and representing the show.
And can't forget Brad Jackson and Kadri and all the names that we've had on over the last year or so. J.O. does an awesome job, the J.O. Foundation. And
sorry to interrupt. I got to remember there's a delay today with you
What's
being
that?
on site. I got to remember not to be careful with the interruptions because I know there's a delay with you being on site. I just need to know, is Kadri in a pink tuxedo?
He is not, and I think he might be blaming this one on me. I was supposed to set him up with an actual tailor that I know in the Timonium area, and that never came to fruition because of our schedule. So I will take this one, and we will be revisiting that. We all know that.
All right.
So we have a jam show as usual. C.J. Stroud, Texans quarterback, coming off a stellar rookie season, gave Lamar Jackson a ton of praise recently in a podcast interview. I know you found that over the weekend, and it generated a ton of buzz online. After that, we'll talk a little bit about what Mike Florio has been reporting on, and that is this off-season workout bonus on an annual basis that Lamar will not be receiving in terms of attendance at OTAs. So we'll discuss the relevance and significance, if any at all, of that. Zay Flowers and Lamar, it's not that he's not working. Down in South Florida, there's been some videos from Spence Fit, one of Lamar's off-season trainers, a former teammate of his at Louisville. He and Zay have been working out together in South Florida. What else do we have, too?
Oh, we got stuff on Derrick Henry, Stephen A. Smith arguing with his people about why the Ravens are the biggest threat to the Chiefs. And then, you know what? After we get through all the Ravens and NFL kind of talk, we might get into a little Caitlin Clark and kind of bring it into an NFL type slant.
Yeah, it's a good time of year to have those like non-football discussions, especially when it's literally the talk of sports media, which Caitlin Clark is. So I know we'll have some interesting thoughts on that. But let's begin with this video that you found of CJ's off-season discussion based on last year. Let's be clear there. This is based on last year's performance, his top 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, so he was on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. So I want to give credit to them. And CJ was asked on the spot, who are the top 5 quarterbacks? And as you said, because when I posted this, I made it very clear this is 2023, but almost immediately everybody's replying like, oh, wait, why isn't, Joe Burrow in there or, somebody else? And again, it's 2023. So this is what he said, his top 5 quarterbacks. And I think he's given some love to Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and himself a little bit.
Final 5. I know what I'm doing, dog. Mahomes, Lamar, myself, Dak.
Joey B.
No, he didn't really play last year. And then Hurts.
Dak,
that boy.
All right. So obviously they were all astounded inside the podcast there about Dak making it. Me too. Now, I do want to say, though, he got a lot of feedback quickly, and he went back on Instagram. He's like, oh, dang, I forgot about Josh Allen. So that one was kind of on the spot. And he has to, again, push back that Joey B is not in his top 5 for 2023 because he didn't play. He is absolutely right about that. But on Instagram, Bobby, he revised it once he was reminded about Josh Allen. I also feel like Josh Allen should have made it. So his revised top quarterbacks of 2023, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, then he put himself, CJ Stroud, Josh Allen then gets the number 4 spot, which kicked out Hurst and moved down Dak Prescott to number 5. He was not giving up on Dak Prescott. What is your reaction to his top 5 quarterbacks of 2023?
Yeah, that initial one with Jalen on it. Again, it's not that I look at Jalen Hurts in high regard, but we're basing this off of last year. Again, just to reiterate. So that was somewhat of a surprise that he snuck in there because, as we discussed last week, Philly had a down year. I don't know if I'd have Dak in my top 5. They had a pretty solid regular season and then does what the Dallas Cowboys have typically done in recent years, bow out in the early side of the playoffs, right? We've become accustomed to that. I might have Brock Purdy in my top 5 from last year. And I know that game manager discussion obviously was one that was circling around him at all times. And I know he had probably the most dominant supporting cast in all of the NFL. But then again, he's pushing all the right buttons. And being that he was much more than a game manager in my estimation. So I might have him there. But I'm fine with the list, to be honest with you, outside of Dak Prescott making his way into after the refinement.
What I really care about are those top 2. And I think he's got it right. He's got Pat number 1, Lamar number 2. If it were regular season only, then, if we were only counting that, which is what the MVP award is, I would put Lamar number 1. But then when you add in the postseason and that Pat beat Lamar head to head, you got to put him ahead. I thought that Lamar had a better regular season, but that's not where it ends. And that's not what his list is. So I agree with him on 1 and 2. I'll just say for Dak, and I would not put him in my top 5. I think kind of the argument there, if you're a Dallas fan, he did lead the NFL in passing touchdowns. So, he had that going for him in terms of like passing yards. He's number 3, but this isn't like, these lists aren't really like, just like the MVP. It's not necessarily statistical awards. It's kind of like how you feel like what they're doing for their team. And so Dak would be out for me. I think the argument against Josh Allen, and I would have him in the top 5 also, is just that he was a turnover machine. So there's that. Here, let me put out a couple names. You put in Brock Purdy. I think I would put Brock Purdy in too. I think he'd probably be my number 5. Let me just ask you this. What about Jared Goff?
It's funny that you bring his name up because as we're talking about this, I'm like, Jared had a heck of a year.
Yeah.
He is not talked about enough. I think you could make a case that Jared isn't Jarrett. You take Dak and Josh off this list and insert Brock and Jared, and we're just basing this off. Just to be clear, again, we're basing this off of last year. I think there's an argument to be made about that for sure.
For sure, because like the Lions, who have traditionally not been great, right? He's got them in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. And he was kind of like brushed aside by LA when they traded him. And then since we are including the playoffs, to me, why wouldn't Jared Goff be in here? Yeah. So I'm actually with you on that because CJ statistically, he was phenomenal as a rookie. Statistically, probably more top 10 with passing yards and touchdowns and all of that. But yeah, I think I would put for 2023, when you include the playoffs, I would put Jared Goff above Josh Allen. And maybe CJ is a little bit high, obviously because he's ranking himself, but also because it was like out of nowhere. You didn't expect that from a rookie, but I might put Pat, Lamar, Jared, CJ, Brock. That fair. Might be mine. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, right. Because those 2 that we're bringing in, right, to ours, Jared and Brock, they got farther in the playoffs than CJ did, right?
Yeah,
CJ
and Brock was in the MVP conversation because I remember making a case that Lamar earned it over Brock, and I do think he did. But not only was Brock in the MVP conversation, I understand the knocks against it because I made those knocks that he has a greater supporting cast, but he was in the MVP conversation and he went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So,
but like you said at the top, really the main point of why we're bringing it up is because he's got 1-2 right.
Correct.
1-2 is right. And I think you just see the mutual respect. You saw the respect that he paid Lamar Jackson during his press conference after the divisional round loss. Remember? CJ made it very, very clear that he views him in high regard. Love the loyalty in the live chat. Luke K says, what about Flacco? What about Joe's end of season run that he took Cleveland on?
That's true, but let's not forget how it ended with him with the 2 pick sixes that
Oh, yeah.
I thought Joe didn't get to play the whole season, so it's hard for me to put him in there.
Yeah.
But did the Browns win a playoff game, or was that their first playoff game when he threw the 2 pick sixes?
That was their first.
Yeah.
That was the wild card round.
Yeah, but boy, do we give him love for what he did do and make sure that they were still alive and all that.
Yeah.
So.
But even, and just to be clear, Luke, like I think he was kidding, but just in case he isn't, even though he went on that incredible run, ball security was still an issue. He turned the football over. Now, a lot of that I think was just him. I'm sure there was very little, obviously, camaraderie with his playmakers because of being thrust into that opportunity. And then on top of that, he probably was just trying to make anything out of something, right? Something out of anything.
Right.
So, anyway.
Well, and I will say this, like in 2024, I remember going into 2023 being like, dang, all the like massive quarterbacks are in the AFC. And there's, a couple in the NFC for sure, but I still think the best are in the AFC. And so for Lamar to end up number 2 there, fighting against number 1, like that was a great year for Lamar. And now we get to do it all over again because the guys that were injured, like Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers, they're likely to be back, and, likely to not have 2 season-ending injuries in a row. So, and hopefully they don't. Like, I want all quarterbacks to stay healthy, and I want the best. I want the cream to rise to the top, So here we go again, and we'll do this again in 2024. But I like where CJ's head is at, and I like the hat tip he gave to Lamar.
We're getting some pushback in the live chat about Brock. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with last year's conversation. There's this negative connotation when it comes to the game manager label. There are so many former quarterbacks who have spoken out about this.
Yeah.
Game managing is a talent.
It's 90% of what quarterbacks do.
Don't attach it with negative connotation.
Yeah.
Brock was an MVP candidate last year for a reason. The supporting cast has to be talked about. We've talked about it. We've mentioned it. We've dissected it and all that. But Brock has proven that he is a starting quarterback and one of the top quarterbacks in the league throughout the last couple of years for San Francisco. You can talk about the system. You can talk about the supporting cast. You can talk about the manager label. I just think that is downplaying the significance of what he's proven he can do over the last couple of years.
Yeah, like he's not. I think Lamar rightfully beat him in the MVP race, especially when they went head to head, and then Lamar repeated that against Miami. I mean, he just had an unreal December, and but I have a hard time. I've said this before. I have a hard time knocking somebody because they have good teammates. Like that's the whole point of a GM is like that's what we've been saying. I do think. I'll put it this way. I think that you can give credit to somebody when they build up a wide receiver or their team. I think you can give them credit for that. But like, for example, I hate it when people knock Lamar for having a good defense. They're like, oh, it's not Lamar. The defense is, when Lamar doesn't play well, the defense will keep him in the game, yada, yada, yada. And I don't want to like knock Lamar because the Ravens traditionally have a good defense. And so now I think that when it's like neck and neck, and you are looking for one way to boost one or the other, I think that comes into play. But I won't knock him in general as a quarterback because they have good teammates.
Fair. Shall we get on to Mike Florio's latest?
Let's move on. So Mike Florio broke some news based off of him looking at the numbers in Lamar Jackson's contract. And after looking at those numbers, Mike Florio says that his offseason absences. So from what we know, we believe Lamar's been at 1 of 6 off-season or some OTAs. We also know, though, that he was there for the first day of off-season workouts. How often he was there for the workout, we don't know, but we know that he was there when it started. And then he was also there when they had their first OTA open to the media. So the Ravens aren't going to give a confirmed attendance list to OTAs, but it's believed that he's been to one of 6. Okay. If that is correct, then what Florio is saying is that it's keeping Lamar from earning a $750,000 workout bonus. So just to kind of go a little bit deeper into that, into his article, Bobby, he says, as explained, I want to make sure I have the right one. Yep. Okay. So he says there's a reason for Jackson to have there's another reason for Jackson to have a good reason not to be there. Or on closer review of his 2023 contract, Jackson has annual offseason workout bonuses of $750,000. To qualify, he must participate in 80% of the offseason workouts, excluding mandatory minicamp. He has already missed too many workouts, we're told, to earn the $750,000 this year. So even if he comes to this week's 3 OTAs, Mike Florio is saying even if he does that, he won't be able to get his $750,000. He said an identical payment with identical terms is available in 2025, 2026, and 2027. The annual $750,000 payment were initially believed to be offseason roster bonuses. That is not the case. They are workout bonuses. Failure to earn the bonus drops his 2024 compensation from $32.5 million to $31.75 million. Looking at it that way, it's not a huge hit to his total pay, but still $750 is $750. And for whatever reason, the $750 is gone for good. So that's Mike Florio's report. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, my reaction is 2 things. One, Lamar's got the bag. We know the numbers.
Yeah.
We know the numbers for 2024. We know the numbers over the duration of that 5-year deal that he signed in 2023. That's the first thing that comes to mind. And 2, based on what we'll get to in a couple minutes, it's not like he's not getting his work in.
Right.
He's down in South Florida. He's spending time with his teammates. We'll see some stuff here from Spence Fit in just a bit. We'll see what Zay Flowers has been up to with Lamar. And I fell for this stuff years ago. I remember Femi kind of read me the riot act on it as a former player, being like, listen, this stuff is voluntary. Don't be so by the book. And I was kind of like edgy about it. I was like, well, why aren't they there? And I think there are cases that you've stated before that you can absolutely make the argument that players should be there depending on where they are in their overall tenure in the league and contractual stuff and things of that nature. But for Lamar at this point, I just think he's earned the right of our trust, the organization's trust, to do what he feels like is best for him this time of the year in the offseason.
All right, so I break this down in 2 different categories. It's what we're talking about here, which is the money part, and then there's the impact it has on Lamar and the team part. So just to address the money part, since that's what I just read, I honestly couldn't care less about Lamar's decision of whether he wants that workout bonus. I don't care. Now, I'll also say this. Lamar's been on quite a tour that I'm guessing, and it's just a guess, he's being paid for. There's no way Complex Sports got all that access to Lamar a couple weeks ago and all the content he gave him for free. I don't think he flew up to New York on his own dime and did all those interviews and all of that. Now, how much is he making? Does it offset the $750? I don't know, but I'll just put that out there. He's been to Germany. He's been to NASCAR. He went out to LA. Something tells me he's not doing it all for free. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2, even if he did, I don't care. Like Lamar can decide if he needs that $750 or if he's going to get it elsewhere. I do not care. Okay. So I think I made that part clear. The second part I want to react to. So Mike and Chris Sims put up this report, obviously, on Pro Football. What is their show called? Is it still Pro Football Talk? They do?
Yeah, they'll do PFT Live. They got a couple different one-offs, but yeah.
PFT Live. And of course, Chris was old Bobby. Bobby's become come to the light on my side a little bit. But because we don't want to be one-sided around here, I'm bringing in the opposing view of Lamar or any player not being at voluntary OTAs. So here we go. Chris Sims is a little fired up. Oh, is it playing for you?
I'm not hearing it, no.
I'm not hearing anything.
But while you maybe reset there, if you can remember 2 years ago, right around now, I put up a similar video to this of Chris Sims complaining about Lamar's OTA involvement. He was heading into the year that he played on his 5th-year option without a long-term deal secured. And everybody and anybody who was somebody was talking about his contract situation. And I just put it up as we often do and transcribed it. What I felt like was, I can't remember the specific language, but Lamar quote retweeted me and ripped Sims. Do you remember that a couple years ago?
Oh,
It was
yeah,
right
yeah,
around
yeah.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And he just buried Sims. And ever since then, I just thought, first of all, I look back at that and laugh. And it was also like yet another reminder for me that, yeah, just don't be so stiff with players this time of year that have earned the right in Lamar's case to have this kind of flexibility. So are we having trouble with that clip, or
No, I got it now. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Harbaugh, we know coaches, we know how they are, right? Like, there's a part of me that he might.
By the way, just as context to this, Mike was saying that he thinks that he didn't know that it was Jeff Zrebiec that asked the question last week, right? Remember when Jeff asked, "Hey, Harbaugh, are you disappointed?" And Mike's like, "I've been ripped for asking those kind of questions where coaches come up to you and be like, 'Why are you doing this to me? You know I can't answer that. Like it's in the CBA. It is what it is. Why?" And like ripped. So he speculated that maybe Jeff got ripped. I highly doubt that. Jeff is one of the most respected. Maybe somebody chatted with them, but I don't think he got ripped. Jeff is just too respected in that building. And so now Chris is going to say, well, there's a part of me that thinks that maybe Harbaugh liked the question because he wants spotlight on it. And this is coming from Chris's point of view because he thinks Lamar should be there. So that was the context. Let's get back to it.
I don't like that question. He might want the spotlight on this situation a little bit, right? I mean, we know Harbaugh's, they bleed football. I got to think John Harbaugh's rolling out of bed like, what the F? Like, one of the highest paid employees in football can't be here for one of our half-day damn 7-on-7 practices? Once? I'm disappointed in Lamar. I am. I love Lamar. You know that. I mean, I've stuck up for him ever since he left college, and people were saying he should be a receiver. Any of that. Lamar's awesome. But damn, like, you're doing the highest paid people in football. You're the leader of the football team. You're coming off a disappointing playoff loss. You want to be an all-time great, and the guy that's being the all-time great is your nemesis in the same conference who keeps beating you and winning Super Bowls, right? That's where I'm just like, what? I can't. You got Joe Burrow in your division. You think he's taking a day off? Any of them?
All right, Bobby, I'll react first to this one. I think what Chris is doing there is straight up manipulative. Like, never, ever, ever, ever has somebody lifted up the Lombardi Trophy and be like, this started at OTAs. This is where it all began. We wouldn't have won the Super Bowl if I hadn't showed up to the all 9 of the voluntary OTAs where we're practicing on air and there's no contact. Never in the history of the Super Bowls has that ever happened. You might be able to argue maybe we got off to a faster start in week 1. Maybe something like that. But to me, that's when like you're in a new offense. To me, to be like, to say, oh, I know it's voluntary, but, and then go off about how Joe Burrow's there, but Joe Burrow's coming back from injury and working back from it and trying to get things underneath him. And like, I just think it's manipulative. Lamar Jackson being at OTAs is not going to be the difference to him beating Patrick Mahomes. It's just not. So I find it to be manipulative and getting into the part. So like you're going from voluntary to voluntold. Yeah, I know it's voluntary, but you better be there. Yeah, I know it's voluntary. I know it's your choice and I know it's your money, but you better be there because I feel like, and then I'm going to go take everything that's ever been bad in your career and throw it in you to voluntold you to get to OTAs. That's what it is. I'm going to take, and so you could use that logic with anybody that has not won the Super Bowl. Anybody. Well, you went out here, you threw an interception there, you did this, you did that. Take somebody's worst out of their career and then manipulate it into making them come to a place that's voluntary. I think it's manipulative, and I don't think it's going to make a difference in the long run of Lamar not have been to, I think we're up to like 5. He'd missed 5 practices where they're not allowed to have contact.
Let's review really quickly what happens at OTAs. How about that?
Let's do it.
No pads. Attendance has been tremendous out of the gate, all things considered.
Yes.
But not everybody is there, right? Keaton Mitchell, for example, one of last year's lightning rod surprise type running backs, is not involved. He's rehabbing. Your offensive line, there's a bunch of different combinations. This is the time of year where you're experimenting. We all remember last year, right? They gave Solid kind of the opportunity to run with the ones, even though he really barely even played all year long. This is an experimental time, and even though attendance has been encouraging, it doesn't necessarily mean that within that attendance, yes or no, that said starter is getting valuable reps. Like, a lot of it is walkthrough. A lot of it is classroom time. A lot of it is non-simulating full game speed in the regular season.
Mm.
So there's an argument to be made that Lamar being down in South Florida with the team that he's assembled around him, with literally his number one wide receiver, which we'll get to in just a bit, is actually in the long run more beneficial to what they're all chasing than it would be in Owings Mills. So again, Chris has an opinion. He's entitled to it. We all know, we all understand that. We get that. We're not refuting that whatsoever. And obviously, he's probably right in the sense that, of course, Harbaugh wants all of his guys there.
Obviously.
Of course he does.
Well, what else do coaches do if they don't have players to coach? Obviously, he and all coaches around the league want them there. Of course. That's why there's a CBA. That's why they agreed to this, because there's another side to it that says football players deserve time off. They're under the microscope. They're putting their bodies on the line for all these other months of the year. This is why there's a CBA, and this is why there's conversations, which, by the way, Harbaugh was asked about. There's conversations of getting rid of OTAs altogether and having elongated training camp. And John Harbaugh was not against that. Yeah. You know, he wasn't against it. So there's a reason why there's a CBA, because what Chris Sims just did is what you could do to football players nonstop. Right. Nonstop. Right. Sacrifice more. And believe me, I believe in the principle of sacrifice. I'm not trying to say any of that, but it can be so easily manipulated. Yeah. And you could do this all day long. Give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more. When we all know that they need time away and deserve the time away. And it's built in the CBA that way for a reason. And anything else is manipulative to try to get them to do what you want them to do.
And they used, the whole reason why we're having this conversation is that they used the bonus not being met for Lamar, $750,000, this annual bonus, as the leverage that they needed to have the conversation around his attendance. Right. That's why we're here. It's early June. It happens every single year, and it just so happens to be aimed at Lamar because he was one of the most recent paid, and he's spending some time away from the organization. You know who would probably have an opinion on this?
Who's that?
Is the great Ozzie Newsome, who is about 50 yards to my right.
And now listen, I don't want to speak for Oz, but listening to the way he would usually talk, Ozzie gets straight to the point. And if somebody asked him that, he would say it's voluntary and literally nothing else. Yeah. He was always that way. He could get straight to the point and not have any extra words on it. But speaking of voluntary and getting together with his receivers and all that, Lamar recently got back from, I think he was at LA during the last OTA, and he and Zay were back together again in Florida. Here's some of the look of their workout together. courtesy of Spence Fit, who has in the past worked out and who has been like kind of a trainer in Florida for Lamar. All right, so what do we got here, Bobby? I haven't seen this yet.
Well, remember, so, first and foremost, what we know about Spence Fit is that he and Lamar know each other through Louisville. So just to remind everybody, this relationship, this connection goes back years, and a lot of times over Lamar's now 6 seasons in the league, this is the time of year where he'll get together with Spence down in South Florida. So, yeah, basically it's just Lamar and Zay and Spence and some other guys who are helping out here, getting some work in down in South Florida on a beautiful, sunshine-filled, no-cloud day.
Look at that. Those are, by the way, that pass right there to the outside of the numbers over the shoulder, going deep, outside, that's exactly what we want to see during the regular season. Check this out.
Yep.
Just straight.
And for the audio only, Zay runs about 40 yards or so. Nice little quick juke move at the line of scrimmage.
And then
Lamar hits him,
line.
to your point, outside the numbers, 30, 40 yards down. Yep.
Right. Perfectly laid over his shoulders. It's exactly what we want to see. Some of these deep balls, getting them over the top. Obviously, this is all on air. You don't have people coming at you. And Zay doesn't have anybody on him, but that's essentially what they're doing. No series also. Who is it?
Brian Snyder. Brian Snyder just said hello to us.
I heard it. We heard it. We heard it. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's a he's having himself a good old time over there. But yeah, it's a who's who here. I've mentioned that just in case you're just popping on. By the way, Sarah is in obviously her usual spot, her usual studio in Columbus, Ohio. I use the geographical convenience of being in Baltimore City to pop up to Pikesville for Jonathan Ogden's annual golf tournament here at Woodholme Country Club. And J.O. was kind enough to have me out here last year. We're back here, and I just thought it might be fun, even though we're still doing a normal show, to be out here and do a little bit of networking and see who maybe can come on the show this summer.
All right. So is that it on Lamar? I think, I guess just one more thing, just while we're on it, since we had Zay right there. Zay was also seen at Game 6 between the Panthers and Rangers. So, listen, man, this is what the offseason's all about, man. I love seeing these guys moving around. Lamar's been all over, I was going to say the country, but he's been all over the world. Zay's moving around. Love to see it.
And I got to say, too, thank you, Mark. We got some people checking on us over here. This is good. We got a whole team assembled here. But Zay has really ramped up the endorsements this offseason, I've noticed. He's very, very active. And so I think the team around him that he's assembled has put himself in a good position to be very, very active. So what else we got?
All right. So next up, I saw this segment on First Take with Stephen A. and some of the crew there. But they were debating on who was the biggest threat to the Chiefs this year. And only Stephen A. picked the Ravens. I think Buffalo was named, and I think San Francisco maybe. I might have that wrong. But Stephen A. Smith, when it came to him, who's the biggest threat to the Chiefs, he came in hard for the Ravens and had a very specific reason for it.
Everybody, we know we get forgetful sometimes and stuff like that. I mean, it certainly happens to me. But I do recall Derrick Henry arriving in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Do you know who that dude is? You know that? I mean, Lamar Jackson has Derrick Henry to give the ball to. I'm sorry. I can't ignore that. I cannot ignore that. Oh, no. So I'm looking at a team since 2019 as the second-ranked offense in the National Football League. I'm looking at Lamar Jackson. I'm looking at the other pieces they had already and the Rough Rider defense and the coaching of Mr. Harbaugh. And then you go out and get who the Dallas Cowboys should have gotten, which is Derrick Henry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at that, and I'm saying, wait a minute now. Because, again, I don't have to rely on Lamar Jackson running the football because I got that dude back there. I could play off of him to create opportunities and play action, to throw the football. And I got a defense that's going to make up for any mistakes I make along the way. And I got a bell cow to chew up the clock. You understand? If not more than that, I got Lamar Jackson, the greatest running back we've ever seen at the quarterback position, doing what he's capable of doing. I'm sorry. I don't need to pivot. I'm going to stay right where the hell I am. It's going to be the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh man. So so we've had this discussion before, who's the biggest threat, and like it's not crazy to say the Ravens, obviously, given what they did last year. Jameson Hensley had also put out the Ravens are third in ESPN's football power index behind the 49ers and Chiefs. The Ravens' chances to win the Super Bowl are 8%, so that's the fifth best. So obviously Baltimore is certainly going to be in the mix, and a perfectly fine answer to say that they're the biggest threat to the Chiefs. But man, the way he was just so excited. I guess that's my thing, Bobby, is we on the outside, our last memory is stuck, right? And it's that AFC Championship game. And we don't get to see what the team sees with all these new players and how it looks. And so we are still stuck with that last memory. I cannot wait to see what Lamar and Henry are going to look like. And to me, I brought that clip in because Stephen A. just did such, I think, a good job of reminding us of the duo that's going to be back there and how that could change everything.
Because of the active offseason that's been across the NFL, for whatever reason, this has been flying underneath the radar. I don't know why, but it's been flying underneath the radar.
Nationally.
And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nationally. And I've even seen within like the Ravens flock fan base, people having to like wake themselves up from daydreaming this offseason as a reminder, yeah, you went and got him in free agency. He's going to be a part of your backfield. He's going to be an 1,000+ yard rusher if he stays healthy. And what that's going to do for this offense, I think Stephen A. made a good point too. What's it going to do for the passing attack? What's it going to do for opposing defensive coordinators who have to plan for the absolute worst, right? That's going to do and put more stress on opposing defenses, even without Derek having the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most exciting part of this entire thing, what he's not going to do directly.
So this kind of brought me, like this clip came up around the same time that the NFL put up this graphic. Okay, just a gorgeous graphic. The one we've seen with him in the purple throne chair with the crown on and his purple and black suit. And the NFL web Twitter account asked us, predict the stats. So this is what I want to propose to you and to those listening in the comments.
Okay.
Rush yards for Derrick Henry in 2024 and touchdowns for Derrick Henry. I'm assuming rushing touchdowns. I mean, I'm sure. Let's do total touchdowns. Maybe he'll get one thrown out to the flats and he runs it in. I don't know. So let's do rush yards and total touchdowns. While we do this, should I refresh what he's done recently?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so he's only been under 1,000 yards and barely. The last time he was under 1,000 yards was 2021, and he only played in 8 games. So injury that year. So, but since then in 2022, he put up 1,538 rushing yards, and then last year 1,167. Okay, and then in terms of touchdowns, although these are just rushing touchdowns, with the stats I have up here, 2022, this is him coming off of injury, 13 touchdowns, 12 last year. I would like 12. And just one other thing, Dov Kleiman, your favorite guy on Twitter.
Oh.
I know it triggers you that I even brought something in from him. Anyway.
I hear he sold his account, Sarah. I hear he sold it.
That's what I heard, that maybe it might not be him anymore running it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So I don't know. But anyway, he's got the last. Did I pull in the wrong one? I pulled in the wrong one. I pulled in the
You pull in
receptions
wide
leader.
receivers.
I meant to pull in. Yeah, I meant to pull in the last 1,000-yard rusher for each team, or 1,200-yard rusher, and for the Titans it was Henry, and for the Ravens it was Jamal Lewis. So let's
Oh
get
my
that
gosh.
off of here and go back
Wow.
here since I pulled in the wrong one. Okay, so
Yeah.
what's your prediction? Derrick Henry, 2024. We're going to always assume he's playing 17 games, healthy the whole time. Rush yards, touchdowns. Hit me with it.
I'm gonna go aggressive here. We don't know when Keaton Mitchell's getting back. You know, we know that Justice Hill can be reliable, even though last year there was some issues at the mesh point, but we're not expecting him to be a high volume guy. Rasheen Ali, we don't know what we have in him yet. We think that he's someone that, gosh, I mean, talk about productivity. He did all that and more during his collegiate career at Marshall. But I'm going to go aggressive here. I think he is going to be the bell cow for this team. They're not going to be afraid to use him and have him take that workload that they need right out of the gate. And so I'll go 1,500 rushing yards with ease, and I'll go 13 touchdowns to boot.
Woo! You went 15. That is exactly my question, Bobby. It's not, to me, especially if he's healthy, it's not a question of if he can still get 15. I just don't know how the Ravens are going to use him yet.
Yeah.
And when Todd Monken spoke, he kind of gave a hint that, they still like to have a rotation, and that I don't know, he kind of went back and forth. He's like, we want to make sure he's healthy by the end of the year because that's when we need him. He goes, but at the same time, he's been pretty durable. So I was like, are you flirting with it? Is he going to be like legitimately the bell cow? So I think I'm not going to go as aggressive just because I don't know. Are they going to bring in Justice Hill? Ali, to your point, Mitchell won't be around till later. So I'm not going to go quite as aggressive as you. I'm going to do 1,200 and I'll go 11 touchdowns.
Okay.
Either way.
Still, Pro Bowl year for both predictions, right? I mean,
well,
that's...
and here's the spinoff to that then, right? Because we all keep saying that he's going to take pressure off of Lamar, which is absolutely true. But the last time the Ravens had a rusher to go over 1,000, I think it was Mark Ingram, correct?
Mark in 2019.
All right. And I think Lamar also was over 1,000.
That year he went for 1,200. 1208, something like that.
Yeah. Not only do I think, even because he's signaling to me that he's going to be willing to run again, Lamar. Not that he wasn't willing, but maybe a little bit more willing. I think Lamar's going to go over 1,000 again too.
Oh, you think Lamar? Wow.
Uh-huh.
So you got Derrick at 1,200 plus.
Uh-huh.
Lamar at 1,000 plus.
Uh-huh.
Wow. I mean,
again,
that would surprise me.
Every year that Lamar has played the full year, again, this is assuming Lamar's healthy. Last year was the first time where he played all the games and didn't break 1,000 yards rushing. So last year, Lamar was at 821. The 2 years prior, he had almost that, and he only played he didn't play the full season. But look at this. In 2019, Lamar had 1,206. 1,206. And then in 2020, he had 1,005. I just think there's going to be so many opportunities with Derrick Henry there that he's going to keep it and go.
Or will he get back to this spreading the burden type of mentality that we watched unfold a year ago and always be willing or looking to give it up? I'd be surprised if he hits that number.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Yeah,
I get it. I think he will spread the burden. Like in 2019, I felt like he spread the burden plenty. Like Mark Ingram was there, and he was the passing touchdowns leader. Yeah. I think that Derrick is going to open up so many opportunities that like Lamar's going to have more lanes. Do you know what I mean? So I think
they're definitely going to be there.
Right. That's my point. Is I think the opportunity is
Yeah.
going to be there, and because like again with him gaining weight, I think that's more what statue quarterbacks kind of do. It's like, let me absorb these hits as I take these sacks. And Lamar's still going to drop back. We have to have a marriage. It has to be a marriage. I'm not saying I don't want to see him passing as much. You have to be able to threaten both through the air and through the ground. But I think with Derek there, he's going to have these lanes that are going to be wide open, that he's going to be fast enough to just hit and maybe hit that second gear where, like, last year he was looking back. Remember the L'Jarius Sneed in the AFC Championship, where like in 2019 he would have been gone to the house.
Yeah.
I think those types of things he'll be able to take to the house again.
We'll see.
All right.
Hope so.
That's my prediction. Lamar over 1,000, Henry over 12.
All right. There you go. Love to hear yours in the live chat. What you think they're both going to do on the ground for Baltimore coming up in 2024. The 33rd team via Marcus Mosher took a look at the defenders poised for a breakout season going into this upcoming fall, and Truth Bearer weighing in with a super chat before we transition here. Thank you for the love. No, you're good. Truth Bearer is calling it. He's going to break LT's touchdown record of 28. He's thinking 29 for King Henry. My Lord. You think I went aggressive? You think I went aggressive there?
Hey, but at least Truth Bearer put his money behind it. He put $5 behind it just to get on the screen. Holy moly. Could you imagine 29 touchdowns?
All right.
I would lose my mind.
Somebody screenshot that sucker.
Here we go. Here,
Screenshot
Truth Bearer, while you got time, screenshot it before I take it down.
There you go. So the defenders poised for a breakout season, according to Marcus Mosher. Look who makes the list. Trenton Simpson, second-year linebacker out of Clemson, of course, is going to be taking over for Patrick Queen, who left in free agency. Joshua Williams is on this list, Kansas City cornerback. Baron Browning, an edge rusher from Denver. And Tyreek Stevenson, a corner from Chicago. So Trenton getting some early season love here, especially it's probably fresh on everybody's mind what he was all about in that lone game that he got to see really an entire game as a starting linebacker in that regular season finale, and he showed out.
Man, could you that's a lot of respect right there, because he hasn't really, we haven't seen him. We saw him play special teams last year, but did Patrick Queen ever come off the field for him? I don't. If it happened,
I can't remember a time outside of Chicago.
Right.
Or,
and
sorry,
so like
outside of the regular season finale against Pitt.
Right. We're like, right. So we had, just a little bit to see him.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of respect right there. And I also think it shows respect to the man next to him, who is the next little debate that PFF brought up. I think it's respect to Trenton himself and his own athleticism, but the fact that he could maybe come alive just like Patrick Queen did to a certain extent with Roquan Smith. So PFF put up this graphic. Roquan Smith versus Fred Warner over in San Francisco. Pick the better linebacker, they ask. Bobby, you like to play the middle of the road sometimes here. I'm not going to let you do it. You got to pick one. You're in the draft. You have to pick one. Who are you selecting?
Well, I think the last time that you maybe thought I was going middle of the road with this discussion about the linebacker position, I think I was saying that is a very compelling argument, but I'm going to go with Rowe. I think I was just saying hey, the duo that we were talking about at the time in San Francisco had been I think what I was saying was their longevity, or the time that they've spent alongside each other, had been longer and more successful than Rowe and PQ. And I think that's when it came up. With this specific one, yeah, of course they're going with Agent Zero. He's in less than 2 years, he has become a co-face of the franchise with Lamar.
I mean, what he did from the moment he was traded is just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Now, if you want to stack up their numbers, by the way, to each other, I mean, to your point, Fred's a 3-time All-Pro. Roquan's a 2-time All-Pro. They both, but Roquan is a 2-time Butkus Award winner, which is the award for the best linebacker, and that's twice in the pros. He also had it once in college. By the way, I have a ton of love for Fred Warner because he is a BYU guy, and I've been watching him since college, not as much in the pros because we're focused here in Baltimore. But the fact that Roquan's won that award twice is already telling you what the pros at saying who the best linebacker is. They've given it to him twice, none to Fred Warner. I mean, they've got really, really great stats, both of them being drafted in 2018. Roquan is up on Fred in tackles. He's got more than double the sacks. They're very close in interceptions. Roquan has 9. Fred has 8. Where Fred really sticks out is forced fumbles. He's got 11 to Lamar, I keep saying Lamar. Roquan's 2. I'd say Fred might be slightly better in coverage, but if we're talking the best all around, and then you add in the leadership stuff, Fred's a leader, but he's a quieter leader. Kind of a quiet guy. Both Queen and Dre Greenlaw give love to those guys being there and helping them out. Although Dre has said it a little bit more clearly. But I think once you add in that leadership stuff, and that's not to say Fred's not a leader, when you add in the leadership stuff, like Roquan for me is like hands down. The way that he can walk in after a trade mid-season and turn a defense around, like, I'm sorry, there are a few people that can do that as quickly as he did. Like, that is bananas what he did.
He commands your attention. He commands respect. And it all happens naturally, and it's happened very, very quickly. What's happened seemingly quickly as well is PQ, these little nuggets that come out of various media and other appearances that he's had since joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to become juicier and juicier, I think, as we get ready for this season and playing Pittsburgh, Baltimore twice, obviously. He was quoted for saying recently that it's a better atmosphere here for me. That is comparing Baltimore to Pittsburgh. The Athletic NFL took a look at this, said Patrick Queen has been on both sides of one of football's fiercest rivalries. And perhaps the new Steelers linebacker was just playing to his audience. Maybe he's bitter. Roquan Smith was paid over him, or maybe he dislikes Pittsburgh more.
This is going to be great because we got Mary Kay coming on tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
So we are going to revisit this tomorrow. I'll just be dead
now,
on
Mary Kay's from the Cleveland perspective, though.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But why does it have – oh, that says Mark. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
But I'm sure she's – the whole division's been watching this closely, so I'm sure it could potentially come up in conversation. But Patrick has not necessarily minced words when he's had the opportunity to here.
I'll be honest. Like, I don't know that this is if where he said it's better here for me. I don't know if he's saying I don't think he's saying Steelers is just like a better organization. I 1000% would probably say the same thing if I were in his shoes, because
that's where you are now.
Well, not only that. No, I think I honestly think it's true. It might be slightly playing to the audience, but I think in my heart of hearts, if I were in his exact same position, I would say the same. Only because, first of all, his first couple years here, the fans were all over him, calling him a bust, all that kind of stuff, right? So he was working through that. Then he saw the money that he was hoping to get. He saw that he wanted to be the next, like, Ray Lewis, like what Roquan has now. Not that he's not comparing the two and personalities or any of that, but become that middle linebacker that leads the defense, the tradition of the Ravens defense. And then he went out and saw his GM go out and trade for somebody for that job over him, even though he was a first-round pick. And then he watched how they paid that man. And then he watched how they drafted Trent Simpson. So even if he's not bitter, Bobby, even if he's not, how could you not feel a million times better going to a new place where you're in a honeymoon stage and they're saying, you're our guy? Whereas Baltimore said, we love you. We honestly do. We really do love you, but we love Roquan more. And we're showing it with our pocketbook, and we're showing it with everything that we've done. So that alone, like, just put yourself in a work situation where, like, your work does love you, but not enough to not go out and get Roquan. And so that even right. Like the people who aren't bitter and can work through that, that's still a feeling in the back of your head. So that plays into the atmosphere that you're in. So if I were in that position, I would feel the same way, because now he is the guy in Pittsburgh.
don't expect him to lean away from it anytime soon. This is going to
No.
get better and better.
Let's keep it
you know?
coming.
Right? And it's going to create the theater. And I think, there will be a percentage of the fan base that can't even listen to what you just said. Right?
Yep.
Like listens to what you just said in one ear, out the other. They don't even want to hear it. They don't even want to hear about it. And that's fine. But I think there's also a percentage that understands that they can put that into a real life situation for them personally.
Yeah.
And see the parallels. And I think
Yeah.
that's a great comparison that you just made here. What do you got here on OBJ?
Yeah, just a quick hit. This is from Ari Mirov. He said, because the June 1 has passed and we know that OBJ was a post-June 1 cut, said the following NFL teams are gaining cap space today as a result of prior post-June 1 cuts made this offseason. So he lists a ton out. Raiders getting $24 million, but the Ravens gain $1.2 million, not a ton, but from the Odell Beckham Jr. Cut that they did earlier this offseason.
Gotcha. Speaking of wide receivers, this was just absurd that came down earlier today. Matter of fact, I've heard in passing a lot of I'm at Jonathan Ogden's golf tournament here outside of in Baltimore County here, for those of you who don't know, and there's a lot of former players that played with the 2000 Super Bowl winning team, and I've heard a couple of them, Adelius Thomas included, come by in passing and be like, 140? Yeah, 140. The Vikings and Justin Jefferson have a new deal. It's going to completely reset the market. He's the highest paid non-QB. It's 4 years, 140 mil. That equates to $35 million per year, 110 of which is fully guaranteed. And there he is. He is the highest paid receiver in NFL history. Field Yates. 5 of the 8 highest paid non-quarterbacks are now wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb and the AFC North's Jamar Chase could soon jump into the top 5 as well. And he goes on to write the
It
wide
sounds like
receiver
Tyreek
market.
Hill wants to get back to the table.
He does. He does. I saw that report. The wide receiver market is exploding, even during a year in which we had a historic draft class. And Field just notes there's a strong case that wide receiver is viewed by the league as the second most valuable position right now based on these numbers.
This is the total opposite of what we just put up on our screens last week when Bucky Brooks and Mike Florio were like, hey, could the wide receiver market start to level off with all the injection of all the new wide receivers and how the college game is going and how there's just so many wide receivers, and Justin Jefferson and the Vikings said, nope, right. Forget that. We're still going. It's viewed as the second most valuable position. Listen, it's important, but that's still crazy to me because it's such a dependent position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously but to their points that Bucky Brooks was making, that's only true if you have an outstanding quarterback. So like the Chiefs are proving that theory to be true. That's why they let go of Tyreek and they still won Super Bowls. And so if you have a quarterback that can overcome it, then maybe you don't have to pay as much, but not so much in Minnesota.
Hey, the conversation that has to be had is, where has Minnesota gone? He's electric. Justin Jefferson's one of the best, if not the best, right now. Mm-hmm. But where has Minnesota gone? And where are they going this year?
Right.
They're not. I don't have them as a playoff team. So there's give and take here.
Yeah.
And I just saw somebody in the live chat just show appreciation of the fact that Ravens don't have to pay Zay for the next couple seasons. I mean, what a luxury.
I know.
Right? What a luxury from a team building standpoint.
They're going to want to do it right after that third year, though, if he continues on this trajectory.
No kidding. And who knows what the market's going to be at that point. This came down earlier today. I'm sure you'll have some nuggets on this. The Ravens announced that 3 members of the organization, 3 longtime members, have transitioned out of their roles. Pat Moriarty, you've heard him referenced a million times by Eric DaCosta in press conferences over the years. He's been a senior advisor to Eric. He's become a consultant for the team now, transitioning. Vince Newsom, senior player personnel executive. He's just straight up retired from his spot. And then how do you pronounce John's last name?
Dubé,
senior video operations advisor. Thank you.
Man,
he has
been
retired,
there forever.
and I'm sure you saw these guys in the hallways and at games and practices for years and years and years.
Yeah, John was the type of guy that just literally didn't talk or do much more outside of his job. Like he just made sure everybody got their video. So he's like the type of guy that would help get all the video to players' iPads and all that kind of stuff. Like he just made sure scouts had video, all that kind of stuff. He was
Glue guy.
running that. Yeah. What's that?
Glue guy.
Yeah, glue guy for sure. Glue guy. Maybe a I'm trying to think. Put it in football player terms. Jarrett Johnson kind of guy.
There you go.
It's like,
JJ.
although Jarrett talked a little bit more than John did, but that kind of guy for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Vince Newsom around forever. And he, again, all these guys are just like, let me do my job. But Vince was always smiling. Great guy. Pat Moriarty, I need to know, who is Eric DeCosta going to prank all the time now? Because that poor man, he was pranked all the time. We would get company-wide emails from Pat that were like silly, embarrassing emails. And it wasn't him. Eric DeCosta broke onto his computer and would send out an email as if it was Pat. And I mean, just constantly pranked. So who is Eric DeCosta? Who's going to be the next Pat Moriarty? Who is he going to go off and get? Yeah. But boy, was Pat good with numbers. And I knew this was coming because he's been training his successor for many years now. But just an absolute cap genius right there, Pat Moriarty. Wish him the best.
Tell you what, a lot of turnover this offseason. It's definitely been a theme. It's definitely been a theme of the offseason. So congratulations to all three men for transition to the next phases of their professional or retired lives. Before we close, we teased it off the top, a couple non-football discussions to finish up today's live stream. We appreciate you guys for being here. Again, this is the end of our football discussion in a sense. Maybe we'll relate to some of it back. So if you want to drop off, you can, or you can hang for a little bit before we transition quickly. Just wanted to say thank you to Kelly and Kevin Jackson, our patrons of this live stream. They support us through Patreon. This is their monthly shout out. We appreciate you both for believing in what we're building here in Baltimore and beyond. And if you guys are interested in doing the same, it's a great way to support us on the back end. It's easy, and it's obviously very, very helpful. Patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. We have a link in the show notes, and we appreciate you guys very much. So which one do you want to start with first?
Let's do the Caitlin Clark stuff. So we already talked about Pro Football Talk, and when I was reading the stuff about Lamar Jackson and the 750 that he was forfeiting by not being there, I had read how, this is just how big she is, obviously, that like Pro Football Talk, one of the premier football websites, is trying to find an angle to talk about Caitlin Clark. And so anyway, he was trying to like rack his brain. Like, has anything like this happened in the NFL where like the veterans were so keyed in on a rookie and a rookie was bringing this much more spotlight? And the best he could come up with, and I don't even think it's that close, was Reggie Bush. But I do remember he brought up a quote from Bart Scott, because I remember Bart Scott and like the Ravens defense always prided themselves on giving welcome to the NFL moments to rookies on the opposing team, and also within your own team, but definitely the opposing team, and especially quarterbacks, it would just be so much fun. It's like, all right, let's go get this guy who's coming out of college thinking he's the bee's knees, and like, we're just going to like show him what it's like to be in the NFL. Like, that's obviously a thing in all professional sports. But anyway, he remembered a quote of Bart Scott, and it was while he was with the Ravens at the time, and he's with Ryan, and he said that Bush was the quote, the media darling, aka the golden boy of the NFL, and he just wanted to like welcome him, right? Just absolutely welcome him. So all this stuff that's going on with Caitlin Clark, I think the majority of which is this type of stuff that I am okay with, where it's like, we're going to let them know it's not the same as college football. We're going to let them know. Now, my analogy to this, and I say this to my kids all the time, when you're driving on the freeway, right, there's always a shoulder, and there's like enough space for somebody to like pull off if they're having car troubles, and then some, but you got space for that. And so when you're driving, you feel like you got like a lot of room, even though the line's right there. And then if you're ever in a construction zone, suddenly they have to take away that shoulder, and then they put up those cement barricades. And I always feel less at ease when I'm driving there, right? And it's not because my lane is smaller. The lane is the same size, but I have less room for error, okay? So I say that, bringing it back to like what the WNBA is doing with Caitlin, or when you go out there and you want to like welcome a rookie, is I kind of say you're taking away that shoulder, and now you're playing with the line, and there's not enough room for error. So what I saw this weekend, was I think that was like the spirit of, we're gonna let this rookie know where she's at, but then like cross the line. And so where she got kind of hit from behind and blindsided on a non-basketball play. So this play in and of itself, I felt like was a cheap play. But probably because they took away that shoulder, they're like already in this realm of trying to like be tougher on her and welcome her. But like in what happened over the weekend to me was a cheap play because you took away that shoulder and you're already playing so close to the line with no room for error.
I got you. You want to play this Barnes comment stuff before I get in?
Yeah. So I'm okay with that general like view of trying to welcome them. But here's what I 1000% agree with Barnes from the NBA and what I feel like Caitlin Clark's teammates should be doing.
A hot topic going on right now. Caitlin Clark says she got cheap shotted against the sky. I mean, throughout the season, she's been getting beat up. Hard screens, elbows, knocked down. It is what it is. She's not the first. She won't be the last. My issue and my question is, where the are her teammates at? Where y'all at? Where the rest of the Indiana Fever at? I've seen a couple girls smirk when she's got knocked down, half to pick her up. Like, y'all supposed to protect the asset, protect the star. And all this is the team. She's the star. You always protect your star. I was someone who protected the stars. Kobe, CP, Blake, list goes on. It's going to be a problem because you guys are supposed to be a family. And you wonder why you sit at the bottom of the league right now is because y'all don't protect each other, man. Coach don't do shit about it. Players don't do shit about it. Y'all should be ashamed of it. But the rest of the league is going to continue to test her. And that's what they're supposed to do. It's your guys' fucking job to have her back and have each other's back. Got to do better, ladies.
Bobby, I still remember when Ryan, what's his name? Former Ravens center, Ryan Jensen. I feel like he exploded in love within the Ravens fan base when Joe Flacco got hit in the head by Miami defensive back. What was his name? You remembered his name last time I brought it up.
Yeah, I did. And now
AK
I had it that time and I don't now.
Alonzo,
somebody will help us out here.
Alonzo, something like that. Anyway, when he just knocked out Joe, and Joe was like, I think he went into concussion protocol. He was out, and Ryan Jensen came in and was the enforcer. And like, you're not going to touch my quarterback. You're not going to do any of that. And so I agree with Barnes here. And he did that, as he said for Kobe and all that, where it's like, we all know what's going on here. We're all aware that we're doing a welcome to the WNBA rookie type stuff. And so we get it. And at the same time, though, even though you're doing that, she's on our team. She's our rookie. So we're going to have her back. And I would like to see that more from Caitlin Clark's teammates.
Matt Barnes is what you refer to as a former enforcer.
Yeah.
That's what he just reminded everybody for the stars that he played alongside. He was their protector. He was their enforcer. And he was a role player for the teams in which he played on. Kiko Alonso. Thank you, 410 Byron. Somebody needs to step up on the Indiana Fever, to your point, Sarah, and become Caitlin's enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
Become the team's enforcer. What you saw over the weekend from Kennedy Carter, who no one knew. She was not a household name the way Caitlin is and has become since she just burst onto the scene beginning at Iowa and changed the game, changed the way that really a good percentage of the globe, non-basketball fans, view the women's game, right? Nobody knows who Kennedy Carter is, and what she did was totally out of line. It was classless. It was a non-basketball play to what you said, like you said, and it was something that was just so blatant. The fact that in real time, Sarah, I used to officiate, the fact that in real time, the officials on that basketball court did not rule that a flagrant foul was
absurd. They came back and did it, right? Later?
In whatever they call that, in retrospect or whatever, they retroactively upgraded that to a flagrant.
Which means
how
what?
Does that
doing
not
it
happen in real time?
But what does that do retrospectively? So like
tries to make good. Tries to make good.
It doesn't help the game, obviously.
Right.
But does it
right.
do like there's no like again, I don't watch the WNBA enough. Like if you have a certain amount of fouls throughout the season, does it do something to you?
It could lead to suspension, at least in the NBA
Okay.
it could.
Okay.
And then it could lead to being tossed out of games if a bunch happen in a row.
Well, that's my thing
There's
is
like
I know if you had a couple in a game, you could get tossed, but I just didn't know
yeah.
if it can go across games and have an
Right.
impact.
I think it'll certainly like be on your track record throughout the season. Not sure the specific rules itself, but they're not ones that you want to compile, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
like get those rallied up. And so now I see some in the live chat who are referring to Baltimore's own Angel Reese, who has had a stellar start to the year. And she is, of course, the former LSU star that's gone head to head with Caitlin Clark for a couple of years now. And she celebrated that Kennedy Carter non-basketball play. I thought that was classless. I thought that was ridiculous. I thought it was over the top. And I think it speaks to something that's going on throughout the NBA. There's a lot of women in this league, the majority of them, who don't have something that Caitlin does. Caitlin is a household name. Caitlin is now a Nike athlete, and Caitlin has truly morphed into an icon. Like she is an icon for the women's game right now. And to me, there is a ton of jealousy going on in this league. And it's coming out in the form of dirtiness. It's coming out in the form of non-basketball plays, an entire discourse online. And it's so it hurts to see because the game right now, Sarah, is probably in the best position that it's ever been in terms of visibility, in terms of dollars being spent, in terms of coverage. It's wild. It is wild.
Yeah, and whether I think it would be hard to like fight against the idea that there might be some jealousy there. I mean, that's all that me. I don't like to provide motives to people. Although this one would be hard to fight against. To me, it's more like in general, you play your stars hard. You play them hard. And to Barnes's point, Kobe, it happened to Kobe all the time that she's not the first and she won't be the last. It happened to Michael Jordan against the Pistons. Like he just got just the snot beat out of him and he still overcame it and transcended it and won all those rings anyway. And so I just think, so I think that's like built into all these professional sports that you go after stars, number one, and you also welcome rookies. I think that's built into sports. I just feel like on that specific play, coming from behind on it with away from the ball, it crossed the line in my view. So, but the bigger thing is what to me, what Barnes said, like, where's the teammates at? This is the culture of professional sports. They're going to target your rookies. They're going to target your stars. So also part of that culture should be that you stand up for your teammates. And that's what I would like to see. All right. One last non-football. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
The best part about all this, people are talking about it.
Yeah.
People are constantly talking about the WNBA. That's a win for the league.
Mm-hmm.
That's a win for the players. But over the weekend, it took a different turn, right? And that coverage was like, what are these people doing? What is the WNBA going to do about this? This is horrible. This is that. So there's that delicate line that you have to walk. But Caitlin has done what others that have come before her haven't been able to do to the same extent. And it is special what she's doing. And I can't wait to watch it unfold. And by the way, Angel Reese, Baltimore's own, is off to, like I said, a stellar start, even though I didn't like what she did celebrating that dirty play. She's having a heck of a start to her year.
I love the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark rivalry. I love it. I'm here for it, and I think it will. I think you're 1,000% correct that Caitlin Clark is raising or bringing more eyeballs, but I think her having adversaries helps do that.
I love it. You need
right?
it.
You need
she
it.
can't just dominate the whole league. She can't just dominate the whole league. It won't be as fun.
Her team's not winning much, to Barnes's point.
Right.
But
she's on a tough team.
But like that was partly of what like I loved with like Jordan. It was like Jordan versus Bird. And then it was Jordan versus the Pistons as a group and how hard that they hit against them. And then it was like for a minute, my team, the Utah Jazz and Karl Malone and John Stockton, it was like you always need to have those rivalries, just kind of like the way the Ravens and Steelers absolutely hate one another. It's like it adds to the game. So as long as it doesn't continue to cross the line like I felt like it did on that play, I'm here for it. But I don't want to see it. You just remember, you took away the shoulder on the side of the road, so be careful. The line's right there. Okay, last thing, last non-football conversation, which is funny that Don C put this up. Great show. I'm not buying the national. See, I didn't even know that. This is what's so sad. This is how, like, he's so right. He's like, I'm definitely not buying that you're drinking the natty boo. This is how out of the drinking culture I am. I was in Under Armour in downtown Baltimore and I saw this shirt and I didn't even know this was associated with drinking, to be honest with you. I just thought it was like Baltimore. I like the neon and all that kind of stuff. So that's hilarious that I'm sporting apparently a shirt that
Wait,
is.
This is hilarious though. But people, the live chat, they gotta need the context. You've never had a sip of alcohol in your life.
Well,
and
that's
you
not on
didn't know-
purpose. Not on purpose. When I got
Right.
off in
Right.
Jamaica, I remember they gave me something, and then I once accidentally drank when I thought it was a fruity drink. So twice I have accidentally sipped alcohol. Sip is the right word though, because I
Knowingly.
recognize it
Right.
immediately.
Sorry, knowingly.
Yeah.
Right,
Just want to be
right.
clear.
You've never knowingly. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you didn't know how to pronounce Bo.
No, so I
until
skipped
a
over it.
short while ago.
Yeah.
Yep. So you are wearing a beer shirt. You
I
are
did
wearing
not
Baltimore's
even-
beer.
I did not know that.
You are wearing what put me into essentially a coma my freshman year of college when I showed up to Loyola.
Okay.
And all I was drinking was Natty Bo. All I was eating was pizza. I was finally out of my mother, and I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but I literally was hospitalized because I didn't know I had colitis, and I can't drink beer. I have six or 7 years running now without beer. I haven't had
Oh.
pizza in for how long? I don't
But
eat
you
ice
go out
cream.
a lot. What do you end up drinking?
Oh my gosh, a golf ball literally just. Where was that? Did it hit the path?
Dude, don't
Did
be
it-
saying.
I thought I was going crazy.
Remember
a
when
golf-
Sage Steele got hit by a baseball? Be careful out there.
By a golf
Yeah.
ball. Yeah, she
Or a
got
golf ball, I mean, yeah.
drilled by that.
Yeah, that was
Um,
bad.
Yeah, somebody just went hard left on their approach shot here on the 11th, which is kind of hilarious. But I heard the golf ball hit the pavement. I was like, "Where is that?"
Yeah.
So anyway, just in case everybody is just popping on, I'm at Jonathan Ogden's golf tournament here at Woodholme, and I'm off the side of one of these holes, and somebody just hit an errant shot that apparently almost put me out. So anyway, so yeah, Natty Bo. We got on a little bit of a
I
tangent
thought
now,
it was like
but
chips. I don't know why.
that's
I thought it was
hilarious.
chips.
That is
Because
hilarious.
he looks like the Pringles man,
Too funny. Okay.
right?
Well, I could see where you're going with that.
Okay.
But but then again, my first reaction was, man, as long as she was in Baltimore and she didn't know, but I'm like, but if you're disconnected from something, you're disconnected.
Like I
You
have
know,
no
and so
clue.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this is all to say.
Anyway, the whole point, it's funny that he brought that up because I just thought I saw this come across the timeline and I thought it would be fun to discuss. Again, after football, if you guys want to move on, we're not talking Ravens, we're not talking football. This tweet came up in my timeline that got 8 million views. And it's at I Am Judah asking, hey, people, he's saying, people who don't drink or smoke, what do you do when you're at your lowest? It's so funny that I have this shirt on today, and then Don C saw it. But I thought this would be an interesting conversation because I have a feeling that while I don't drink or smoke, and you do on occasion, right? Like I bet we still attack problems the same way. So not that I responded to this on Twitter, but it's like I would say to answer this. It's changed throughout my life. Like when something bad happens to me and I'm low. When I was like a teenager or in my early 20s, I just wanted to talk about it and have people listen. And maybe you just wanted sympathy, right? And compassion. And then I think as I grew, I realized that those things did nothing for me. I'm like, great for like a minute, somebody listened and they felt sorry for me. And that's maybe more of like I think a child kind of reaction that you want, at least my youthful reaction. And now, when bad stuff happens to me, when I have a bad day or something truly like there's bad things going on, what I like to do, and I have to test myself, I want to look that bad thing in the eye and not flinch. That's the way I've been since like probably my 30s. I want to look it in the eye and never flinch. You are not scaring me to go and, I don't know, maybe if I'm super low and I don't want to think about it, I'll go watch a TV show. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll do that. But even then I don't want to do it. So what I do now is I want to look it straight in the eye. I don't ignore it. And I will usually talk to like maybe there's like 4 people who I really trust with advice, who I know is going to push back and let me know if I'm the problem, or if the other thing that is bad that's happening, if I'm the problem or that's the problem, because I want to know what I'm contributing to it. And if I'm the problem, I'm going to control what I can control and change. And then I want to beat it. I want to beat it. I don't want to stay low. I never want to stay low. And Bobby, the thing that probably changed me, and you know this, other people don't know this, I talk a lot about how I work out before the show, right? This is something new to me because I've had McArdle's disease since I was born. And so what that is like my muscles are missing the enzyme that transforms glycogen into glucose in my muscles. So when I walk or do anything, if I don't have something in my bloodstream, I have no energy. And I didn't know this until my late 20s. I knew I was always hurting and I was always burning, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't keep up with others, especially in sports, as much as I love sports. And then finally I admitted that this was happening to me, and I would have severe muscle cramps and all this because I would just try to push through the burn. And then I finally told my then boyfriend, now husband, and he helped me figure it out. He helped me diagnose it. He helped me figure out a way around it. And I was like, I can't believe for 27 years, I pretended that I wouldn't tell anybody about this. Now, the good thing about me is I would just like keep working hard. I had that part in me, but I wouldn't look it in its eye. I wouldn't admit that something was going on. And so it's now taken me since that time. I'm now in a place where like I'm doing things that online they tell you can't do if you have McArdle's disease. That for sure has changed me. Never again. I'm going to look stuff in the eye. I'm not going to pretend it's not there. I will look it in the eye. I will address it, and I will attack it because I will not stay low. So that's how I am. And I am guessing, even though you drink and smoke, you do the same thing.
Yeah. And I've learned that about you through various moments over the last 2 years. This enthusiastic attack mode that you enter into in various phases of your life. And I think it's contagious, and it's definitely something that we have in common for sure. Like you said earlier on, it's a periodic, I would say, when I say smoke, I smoke cigars on occasion.
Right.
I do it for conversation. I do it on a golf course. Yeah. I do it. And to be quite honest, I prefer it over booze. But you take those two things out of the equation, booze and cigars, and a lot of people are like, whoa, right? A lot of people are, well, what else do you do? And I just lean on fitness, my family, and probably sleep. Those 3 things. Luckily, I'm very fortunate that the lows of lows have been few and far between. 2 years ago, when we farmed our partnership, within a 3-month span, I was let go, as I've discussed, and I went through a breakup, a long-term breakup within 2 or 3 months of one another. And that led me to deciding, you know what? I don't want alcohol in my life right now, not because alcohol caused either one of those things, but because it would put me in a ridiculous line of focus. And that's when we formed our partnership, just ironically.
Mm-hmm, I remember that. Yeah.
And ever since then, I've had a completely different view of it. As a vice, as a conversational thing, as a social thing, it's been a completely different view, and there's no reliability on it. There's no dependence on it. There's none of that. And I've never felt like I've been, and there's still times. Truth Bearer said something earlier on that really resonated with me. He said, I have too addictive of a personality to do either one of those things that you were talking about, drinking or smoking.
Yeah.
And my gosh, I have addicts in a number of different family trees, and I know that I have an addictive personality. I can tell you confidently that I have an addictive personality. You've seen it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out, or a therapist. I know I have an addictive personality. And so that's always in the back of my mind, always.
Yeah.
And so with that, I'm just very comfortable with my usage.
Yeah.
And more so than anything else, I feel like I can relate to someone like yourself. It's zero part of your life, and it will continue to be zero part of your life. And yet, you and I have a friendship that spans far beyond those
Oh,
two
yeah.
vices.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
and so, but my 6 months was a reminder. My 6 months sober reminded me, and again, a decision that I made not out of necessity, but out of want, out of
Curiosity,
desire.
maybe? Oh,
Yeah,
desire.
sure. Desire to build this, what we're doing now,
Yeah.
right? I felt
Yeah.
like my back
And
was
I
against the
remember,
wall.
I remember because when I met you, I already wasn't drinking, and you were on this 6-month,
Yep.
Absence from it. And I remember you telling me that a bunch of friends and family kept being like, "Why? What's wrong? Like what?" And it's like they couldn't fathom that you just wanted to do it because you had just been through a bad thing in your life, and you felt like this was the best way forward to like getting back on top.
And I think it proved to be. I think it
Yeah.
proved to be a good foundational challenge to do what we've now done for almost 2 years together. So, interesting conversation.
Yeah,
Love that
just
you
a fun
brought it
one.
in. You know,
So
we
what do
went
you
a little
think?
bit
Should I
longer.
stop wearing this now that I know what it is? I have life decisions to make now, Bobby. Now that I know what it is.
I think it's a cool design.
It's a cool design, and it just
Nice
felt
shirt.
Baltimore to me.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I didn't know still.
Depending on who you talk to, it is very Baltimore.
Some people
Very,
saying
very
I still need to wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, the last thing for me is, and it's funny that we're talking about this conversation because these pop-up bars are right off to my right
Oh,
here.
for sure, at the
off the
golf
side.
event.
Can you
Yeah.
hear?
Oh
Can you hear
yeah, I
everybody
can
getting
tell
after
that
it?
people are
Yeah.
having a good time at
Oh, people are going-
1:37 p.m. Yeah.
People are going off over here to my right, about 15
Yeah.
feet. And throughout the show, I've like been ignoring it, but people have been offering me things like out of my peripheral vision,
Yeah.
and I'm just like acting like I don't even hear them. So it is funny to have this conversation in the vicinity here, but one thing I know for sure is that I do not need substances of any kind to go out and be myself,
I know that
to
about you.
have a conversation with somebody that I don't know, to approach a woman, to Truth Bearer says Bobby's on Temptation Island. And that, what I'm just getting at is what was reaffirmed within me during my 6-month, what I refer to as cleanse.
Yeah. No, that's true. I think that's true of both of us. Like, not that I've, while I've accidentally had sips of alcohol, I've never been drunk, but I can have fun. Like, I have no problem going out and dancing. And and that's what friends would always say to me, I just don't know. I just needed to have fun. And I understand that's like some people do not have our personalities. Obviously, we're on a show where we talk for an hour every day. We can definitely talk and have fun and whatever. But I can. But you are even more than me, because you have my mom and your dad's skill, which is like, I don't care that you're a stranger. We're about to pretend that we're best friends on this airplane ride, and you can't escape me. And like, we're chatting the whole way through. Like, that's
You're on Bobby Island.
Yeah, exactly.
You are on Bobby Island.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'm not quite that much.
We
But
went a little
yeah.
long. Wendy is coming up right now to say a quick hello. We're just finishing up the show. J.O.'s in town. He's coming over to say a quick hello.
All right.
How are you? Good to see you. We're actually live right now. Sarah's in Columbus. If you want to pop on and say hello for a quick
What's
second.
up, J.O.?
Sarah,
What's up, man?
how you doing?
I'm so good. I wish I could be there with you guys.
Oh, I know, but hey, it's just good to be out here in Baltimore again and just enjoying the wonderful day. And I haven't seen you in and what was it, the Super Bowl?
It was the Super Bowl, so it's only been a couple months.
and Radio Row, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But let me tell you something. I want you to give Kadri Ishmael a hard time for me, please, when you see
Okay.
him. Okay, so he was on our show going into last offseason, and he made a wild prediction that I was just like, you are crazy. He thought that Charlie Kohler was going to have like 850 yards or something like that. And we said, okay, there's no injuries, right? So anyway, I told him if he lost, the next time he went golfing, he would have to wear a pink tuxedo. Bobby has informed me that he does not have on a pink tuxedo, and I need you to give him crap for me.
I will definitely give him crap for you. I mean, you make a bet, you honor a bet. I mean,
Right?
it's not your fault he made a stupid bet. I
It's not-
mean, you didn't say, "Hey, make a dumb ass bet." You said we're just gonna make the bet. I mean, so yeah, he should be in the pink tux right now for certain,
Yes,
for sure.
yes,
In fact,
yes.
I'm gonna go find his butt and bust his balls when I get a chance to.
All right, that's perfect. But tell us about your golf. What your golf tournament?
Yeah, no,
what's
this has been
behind it?
17 years, I think, for my foundation here in Maryland. We've been working with Patterson High School for 24 years now with my foundation, educating kids, getting them a chance to like learn how to improve their situation in life skills, tutoring, computer skills. We run the gamut, but
Yeah.
we've had 100% graduation over the last 20 years. So we've had tons of kids who've gone on to college and done good things with their lives. So, I mean, it's kind of like I was talking to Kelly, who runs the programs for my school, and, it's like my program's like teaching kid to fish. You can give a kid a fish and feed them for a
Right.
day. You teach them to fish. They can feed themselves. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're teaching kids how to better their lives. And we've helped over 500, 600 kids over the last 20 years, and it's been a great thing. And now people out here today enjoying the great weather, Woodholme Country Club in Baltimore. Great golf and a lot of food, a lot of beverage. A couple people might be stumbling a little bit, but that's okay. It's having a little fun.
Yeah.
But it's been great. It's been great.
Awesome. Hey, I'm gonna let you get back to it, but I do listen. We've got
yeah.
2,500 people right here. I have to get the Hall of Fame tackle. 10 seconds. Your thoughts on Roger
Yes.
Rosengarten and the offensive line turning over 3 offensive starters?
It's going to be interesting. I don't really know. It's just hard to say because when you change over that many people, but you still got some good players with Ronnie and Linderbaum there. So you got the anchors, the center and the left tackle. But, we got to figure out what the guards are going to do in the right tackle. But, I mean, it's not the first time we've done it. It won't be the last. I got a lot of faith in the way the Ravens bring players in and the guys who they've had in the wings waiting. So I'm optimistic, though. I mean, and they're going to be blocking for Derrick Henry, so that's going to help because he's going to help set things up for them and make their job a little easier. So I'm very optimistic still.
All right. Appreciate you, Jay. I won't hold you any longer.
All right, sir. Good to see you again as always. And let me get back and go be Mr. Sociable as I am.
Right.
And here's Bobby. Here he goes.
Thanks, Jay. I will see ya.
Man, every now and then, dude, I hit him every now and then.
How you hitting him overall?
Not bad.
Yeah. Thanks for having us out, Jo.
Little impromptu interview there without you.
I know. That's hysterical. I didn't even
I
set
didn't
up
want to take more of his time.
two.
I could have had like 20 more questions, but I was like, he's just popping in.
Well, what's funny is I didn't even set up the 2 camera thing or two headset thing just because I thought he was going to be super busy. But that's the best right there. And he's been kind enough to, he and his team led by Wendy Herr, who's just an amazing person who is so, first of all, Wendy is the reason why we had Jo on in February when we were out in Vegas, like he mentioned. And Wendy has been his longtime assistant. Like she is Jo Incorporated. Like that's how things go. And back-to-back years now, he's essentially given me this like A1 position spot underneath a pavilion.
So awesome.
Right in the heart of the course. Like the clubhouse is off to the left, the practice greens are off to the right. Like there's 3 or 4 holes behind me. The driving range is there. So this is where you want to be. And I just, it's really cool that he, gives us this kind of access and is generous with his time when he comes on. And I already mentioned off the top who's here. It's a who's who. Adelius Thomas, Kadri Ismail, Ken Singleton,
Ozzie Newsome,
Torrey Smith, Ozzie Newsome, Jamie Sharper. I'm just thinking about people. Ray Rice is literally right here. Like I should grab him right now and say bring Ray on because he's literally 5 feet to my right. Yeah, like he's wearing all Orioles gear, and he's talking to. Should I tell him to come?
Well, you're gonna have to do it. You can. You're gonna have to
be...
do it without me because I gotta run.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You know what? I think he's in between holes.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to go. You're probably way up against the clock.
I am against the clock.
Are you?
We're 45 minutes over.
you're
Yeah,
up
I gotta
against the
go.
clock.
But listen, get it if you
Ray.
can, get whatever interviews you can today.
Ray has a towel underneath his hat. It's so hot out here. He's got a wet towel underneath his hat. So anyway, well, this has been a lot of fun, and we just want to thank Woodholme Country Club for giving us an opportunity to come out here. Jonathan Ogden and his tremendous team, and all of you, 2,500 plus, 2,600 to be exact here, for coming on. This has been fun. We've obviously pivoted away from football the last
Yes,
like
we have.
35 minutes. So, I appreciate you guys being flexible, and thank you for all the work that you did on the back end to get us ready for today.
Oh yeah, same to you. But for sure, get as many interviews as you can. We can always post them afterwards. They don't need to be live.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I might actually, I'll let you go. I'm going to try and get Ray on here for a second.
All right.
Maybe he's already done with his round, so I'll talk to you.
Peace out. Hey, have a good one.
Appreciate
We'll talk
you.
later. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah,
Bye.
yeah. Call me later. Hey, Ray. Hey, Ray. What's up? What are you doing? You between holes right now? It's Bobby. How you doing? Sarah Ellison literally just logged off seconds ago. We're live streaming right now. Jo just came on a minute ago. Are you mid round right now? Oh, you're mid round. Okay. All right, I'll talk to you. That's all right. That's all right. Ray Rice is mid round, so he couldn't join us. But anyway, he's rocking. He's not wearing a golf polo. He's wearing full Orioles attire, and he's got a wet towel underneath his hat. So it's hot out here. But Ray Rice, maybe we'll have him on at some point. Not sure if you saw him in the corner of the screen or not, but he's got to go tee off on, what is that, the par 4 11th? Is that the 11th hole maybe? I can't remember. But anyway. All right, guys. Yeah, if I were to pull Ray out of that and solo dolo, I'm with you. His match would have been the pace of play. I think I would have been not exactly appreciated for that. So anyway, appreciate you guys for dropping by. Appreciate the Jonathan Ogden Foundation, Jo himself, Wendy Hearn, and the tremendous team that he has around him for having us out to Woodholme Country Club. It's been a awesome time. Obviously, a little bit longer than usual. Like the video if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to us on the Vault for daily Ravens content in live format, 12 to 1 Eastern, noon Ravens lunch hour live stream. We'll have another one in about 22 hours from right now. Tomorrow, we'll have Mary Kay Cabot on for the Cleveland perspective as we continue to take a look at the off-season notes related to the AFC North teams that the Ravens will be going up against at least twice this upcoming season. And again, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for dropping by the Vault. For Sarah Ellison and our entire team here at Woodholme Country Club, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off. We will catch you guys tomorrow.